speaking of stories, like let's say we're sitting at the dinner. There's always one person that captivates the entire table with their stories. It's like everything comes down to storytelling. Not everything, right? But it's
A
like it's
lot.
such a huge piece
It
of
is.
branding and marketing in general.
I think it's bigger than that. I think it's about human connection.
Yeah.
And I'll allow me to indulge in the whole theory of story. Eric Meads talks about this. He's like, stories are the operating system of the human mind. Everything that we know, that we believe, the God that we pray to, the God we don't pray to, how we identify, like go San Jose State Warriors or whatever it is, San Jose State Warriors, or Golden State Warriors, about where we're from, about our culture, our customs, about our grandparents, about our genealogy. All these things define us. I read in Brian Tracy's book, The Psychology of Selling, he said that the most profound discovery in the 21st century or the 20th century in psychology happened in the idea of the self-concept. It's very important. The self-concept is who are we and what makes us us. Now, when we get into identity politics and we get into branding, now if you understand this, like who is Eric, who is Brad, who is Chris, how do we see ourselves, and our actions, are they in or out of alignment with how we see ourselves? So when you have guilt, it's because you've done something wrong. And you know that because this is not in keeping with me. So if your self-story is like, I'm a generous, loving person, and I turn the other cheek, and somebody cuts you off the freeway and you scream at them with road rage, you mother effer, and you try and chase them off the road. It's like, is that in alignment with how you see yourself? And so then you will go home later that day, like you'll feel really bad. You're like, oh, why did I do that? Why am I such an a-hole? Right? So if you yell at your kids, you yell at your spouse, like, wait a minute, that's not how I see myself. So then you have to make a decision. Which one is the real me? Am I the a-hole? Or do I just love the image of myself in that I'm a kind, generous person that turns the other cheek? So we have to let those two ideas of ourselves fight, and one of them needs to win. Until that's resolved, we have this internal conflict. We're a little confused, so we're never sure how we're going to behave. This manifests itself in our brand, because when we're online, how do we respond to something? We're completely inconsistent. So somebody else is not going to take the flag with us and join our cause because, like, I don't know who you are. Some days you pretended to be this person, and some days you show me your true face. I'm not sure who you are. And so then what happens? Goodwill erodes, trust erodes, and then therefore rapport is gone. So if you want to be that charismatic person in a room, in a podcast, at dinner, you have to learn to be aware of who you are and to accept that. To me, self-acceptance is the most beautiful makeup you can wear.
I feel like if you're not constantly re-underwriting yourself, then you start to lose yourself because you're not in control of your story anymore.
Is that a financial term, underwriting?
Yeah. You can say reevaluating.
Reevaluating.
Yeah.
So I think who you are has been established already for a long time. And it's just we forget who we are. So when I teach story and personal branding, it's not a product of invention. It's a product of memory, remembering who you are. So there's some debate about this, but I think anywhere between the ages of 5 and 9, who you are for the rest of your life has already been formed.
This message is brought to you by Single Grain. Single Grain is a marketing agency ran by yours truly. Single Grain does paid media, SEO, creative, conversion rate optimization, and has worked with a handful of companies such as Uber, Amazon, Airbnb, Salesforce, to startups, venture-backed startups, a lot of different companies. And ultimately, our mission is to do innovative marketing that drives customers. If you want to learn more, just go to singlegrain.com. Again, it's single grain, grain like wheat.